Good afternoon everybody, it's about 1:30 now. Welcome to another video. As you can see, back down this little river that I've been fishing lately. Now, I've been umming and ahhing about what to do today for most of the week. I had planned to do down the lug today, on the river lug. So my plan was to get on the lug, do a bit of trotting, perhaps a bit of roving, and drop on the Y if we were struggling. As I say, I've never really seen the river before. It's dropping, but I'm not sure of heights, etc, etc. However, that kind of got scuppered a little bit because I know a few people across the country that have been out pike fishing this week and they're really struggling. I think due to the fact that we had frost all week, the river temperature is plummeting all over the country. The temperatures are plummeting with the water. So, but well, if plan B's out, we're going to struggle with plan A. And then my wife reminded me that she had a booster jab today. So I had to do a bit of babysitting as well. So anyway, I've got out now at 1:30. Hence coming locally. I did think again about going to the Avon, but I thought about doing a bit of waggler fishing perhaps, and with some pike fishing with a sort of sleeper rod out. But again, pike fishing seems to be a bit ropey at the moment. So what I did thought is I fancy a bit of a wander, but I also fancy doing some float fishing. So I've literally grabbed just a few bits and pieces. I've got a net with me, landing net that is, a rod and my bag, and that is it. I've bought my Daiwa Tournament Pro, 15 foot. It's got a stick float on it, Drake stick float, and I've got my Garcia 506 Mark II closed face reel. I'm going to do a bit of a wandering session, but on the float today. Bit of roving with the float. Very, very simple. I've got a pouch with some maggots in it. I have got some worms, not really intending on using them. I've got some bread, which I probably will use because I'm thinking chub today. We may catch some roach, but I'm thinking chub. And that's it, very, very simple. Got a little bit of ground bait, some Sensas 3000 Gros Gardons mixed up with some white crumb, just to bind it up a little bit more, get it to the bottom in some of these faster swims. But that's it, it's as simple as that. I'm going to have a rove about perhaps 10 or 15 minutes in each swim. I'm going to do a couple of swims up this end of the stretch, and I'll perhaps have a wander up to the top, bait a few swims on the way, and then we'll go and fish them on the way back. But rather than fishing them on the link ledger or the feeder, we're going to fish them on the float. That's the plan anyway. It's not very warm at all. I'm going to sneeze. It's fantastic. Week. Kid's been back to school a week and she's already brought a cold home. Fantastic. So, excuse me for that. Yes, so that's probably enough waffling, isn't it? My hint to stop. So yes, we'll have a rove about with the float and just see how we get on. So this first swim is where a couple of little streams join together, or the main river joins with a little carrier stream over there. Now I'm doing a terrible job of skylining in this swim. By that I mean my silhouette is, from the fish's perspective, my silhouette is against the sky. I don't have a lot of choice really. I could sit down. If I sit down, I'm not going to see my float go around this corner, so it's not really ideal. And if I go further down the swim so I can see my float go downstream, I'm going to miss out on a lot of this water at the top here. So it's one of those really at the moment, unfortunately. But we'll give it a go, I'd say. I'm not going to stick around in any swims, not unless they're cracking. I can't imagine they're going to be. I think it's going to be pretty hard going today. God, blimey, I've got tangled up everywhere. One of those days where everything's getting tangled everywhere. Tangled around the rod top. There we go. So we'll, as I say, we'll just have a run through a few swims, just see how we get on. Yeah, went down there, I'm not sure it was a bite. Yeah, dragging bottom in here, it's quite shallow at the moment. This swim, it's too shallow really. There we go. Only about, well, 3 foot deep at the most. Pushing through really a bit too much. No, nothing doing that. Right, as I said, I'm not going to hang about. We'll try and cover lots and lots of swims, so we'll get a move on. Well, next swim, a lovely long straight run through here. A few loose handfuls of ground bait in. Lovely long straight run under some cover. Looks very appealing. Just a nice steady run. I'm sure there must be some fish in here. Whether they can be tempted, we'll soon find out. Right, I'm just going to run this through at 2.5 foot, and then we'll just slowly get deeper till we start dragging a bottom. Well, that's just running through lovely, that is. Ooh, gone under. Blimey, dragging bottom at 2.5 foot. Maybe just an old dead weed bed or something in there. If we're struggling to run all the way down, I can always drop in a bit further downstream. I can run down to that cover. That does look very chubby where those trees are. Got through this time. Oh, there we go, there's a dip there. Yeah, we're getting some bites there. Take this run up there. The rings are not in line. Quite sure why. Yeah, I think there's a group of small fish sat down there. Very rapid little doops on the float. Yeah, there's lots of little fish down there. Float's bobbing away. There we go. First fish of the day. Is it going to be a roach or a little chub, I'd imagine? Well, yes, little chub. Wondered if it was a dace for a minute, but keep still. Definitely a little chub. The mouth that size. Well, I think we may be pestered by those in a good way in here, because we're getting lots and lots of bites as that run through then. So I think we'll give it 5 minutes if we're getting a few bites, just see if anything bigger comes along, and if not, we'll move just along to where we're getting these bites, about 10 metres downstream, and we'll then run down to that cover, which looks much more chubby. Perhaps go on a bit of bread flake and run it under that cover. But of course, while we're feeding the swim here, any maggots that get missed will end up down there anyway, so we're sort of feeding that swim anyway. I do like to work downstream when I'm roving about. I'm not going to run this right down to that tree from here. We're going to drop in a little bit further down. There's no point. Just risk losing fish. We'll have a lot less control on them if we're up here. Well, I keep putting a red and a white maggot on, or in this case a red and a yellow, and it's always the red one that's gone. So we'll put double red on. Try that. Try that in a minute. They're very small fish bites, these bites I'm getting in here. That looked like a more interesting bite then, right at the tail of this particular bit of river. Just a bit further down than when I'm planning on going and standing in a minute. It's much slower pull on the float. And often when you're catching, for those of you new to fishing, you know, you get lots of little really sharp stabs on the float, and that's generally small fish. But when it's much slower, much smoother, the way it pulls away, it's either the bottom, like that. There you go, leaf. It's either the bottom or a fish. Generally, the slower the bite, the more steady the bite, the bigger the fish. You can read these bites, these little dinks I'm getting at, they're certainly not big fish. So I'm not really striking at them. Just for the record, the maggots I've just got some reds, some whites and some discos all mixed together. I keep them separately at home, but depending on what I'm doing, I just tend to mix them up. And with the colour dropping out of the river, it can often be one day one colour's good and another day another colour's good. I couldn't get a bite on reds last week. The river's a lot clearer today, and I seem to be just going for the reds. Right, no more apples, please. There we go, another little pluck. That bait must be tripping very near the bottom if I'm picking up stuff off the bottom. Now down there is where I just had that slower bite. Just hold it back a bit. Yeah, and down, just holding back seems to do the trick. Not a big fish, but just holding it back just seems to encourage a bite. I think it's a roach. It is a roach. There we go, that's wonderful. Just holding it back. Let's just put, as I say, I put double red on, so I seem to be going for the red. A lovely roach. Fab. Oh, there seems to be lots of little fish in this swim, which is encouraging. As I often say, there's little fish in a particular place. There's no reason why the big ones won't want to be there. I've got stereo sheep here. I've got sheep behind me, sheep in front of me. Right. Yeah, just holding back there just seemed to do the trick. So I'd had that slower bite. I just held that back and it dropped under. I say I've not bought a keep net today. Just don't want to carry it around with me, to be honest. I'm not going to stick around in a particular swim. I think we might have a little bit of a move just downstream. Easier to trot, and I can trot down to that cover as well. Just have one more run through. But it's a bit shallower in here as well. I seem to be catching the bottom quite a lot. I wanted to just do the whole of this run here. Oh, there we go. That was worth it. I would imagine it's a chub. It's trying to get under my feet. A monster. Getting so much line from trying to keep him out from under my feet. Wow, it's not a monster, but it's fab. There we go. Lovely little chub. Fab. Well, I'm glad I decided to do this. Wonderful. Back again. We'll definitely have another run through, obviously. Got the landing net wet, which is great. This river is just a nice visibility now. There's about 2 foot of visibility, which is, to my mind, just bang on. The fish can see the bait come in, but it's not crystal clear. Well, I bet there's some bigger ones sat under those trees. to have this one run through, and then we'll go and move down a bit further, I think. If I keep feeding here, I'm going to pull the fish up. I don't want to do that. There we go. There we go. Yeah, see, that's just below where I'm going to go and stand, so we'll definitely go down there. Got a little dace. Oh, there we go. Little dace. Fab. Very similar to the chub, but fin's not so red underneath and much, much smaller mouth. So here we are, a little bit further downstream. I'm more comfortable now. We're on a bit of a promontory. The river goes in a bit here. I was a bit concerned if I hooked a chub. I ran right down to there and hooked a chub. It would be in here, I wouldn't be able to stop it. So, hopefully, we can run down to those trees. And if anything decent takes the bait, we can get it out. Some reeds on the inside there, which we have to be careful of. It was about there I had that roach. There we go, dipping again. Shoulder roach out there, I think. Here we go. Yep. What's this? Dace, I think. I'm getting a bite of chuck at the moment. This is brilliant. There we go. There's a little dace. Wonderful. Wow. To be honest with you, I couldn't have hoped for a day like this. I haven't quite anything big yet, but generally find if the big uns, if the little uns are on it, the big uns will be on it as well. So it makes me hopeful. Not counting my chickens just yet, but this is great. I thought we might struggle for bites, but that float is absolutely banging away. See if we can attempt to bite. There we go. A bit of a bite there. When you hold a float back, it makes the bait flutter up in the water. I hold it back, I'll actually be stopping the line. Obviously the line's running out to let the float go downstream. There we go. And by holding back, you're just literally stopping it in its tracks, and it makes the bait flutter up quite enticingly. Oh, dace. Lots of dace. Wonderful. Double red is definitely what they're after today. Hopefully, as I say, hopefully we can get into one or two big ones. Well, I'd love it. A decent roach on the float, that would be fantastic. Yeah, a lovely roach from just a bit further down from here. I'll stick a link up there, you can have a look at that video if you've not seen it. Yeah, some nice ones in here. Be lovely to have on the float. God, getting lots of bites down there. Lots and lots. A little chub. I think actually if we're going to fish down to that cover, it might even pay us to move again a little bit further down, just to that promontory where those reeds are sticking out, because if I hook a chub under those trees and start winding it up here, it's going to go straight into that. I don't want to risk losing it, so I think we will, when we start fishing down to that snag, down to those trees, we'll move a bit further down. Because there's no point taking any risks when we don't need to. Should never really take any risks with fish welfare anyway. You know, if you don't think you're going to get a fish out of a certain swim, you shouldn't fish it. A lot of fish down there. Looks at the bites, a lot of small fish. That one. There we go. That's a little better. That's a bit roachy. God, this rod is wonderful. You can feel everything, every pull. Wow, just about lift that one out. A lovely roach. Lovely slate grey sheen to him. It's not going to play ball. Nope. I don't want to have this picture taken. There we are. I'll just stick my finger in the way. There he is. Now he's behaving. Wonderful. Now that's going to be much more visible, much less likely to snag on the bottom because the hook's not exposed. The bait's a lot lighter than, even though it's a reasonable chunk of bread, it's a lot lighter than maggots. It should be fluttering around in the current. Certainly holding the float back. It's running through much slower. And totally unmolested as well. Oh, there we go, it's just gone under there. This is where it keeps dropping under, I think. Yeah, we'll have a move just downstream, just down to this little promontory here. It'll be easier to, we'll be more likely to extract a chub from under those trees if we hook one. We'll get a move on. So how chubby does that look? I think from here we could run the float right through and we got a chance of getting the chub out. Should there be some under there? I assume there are. Because from back up there it would have been a bit tricky. They try and get in the edge constantly, don't they, chub? And the reeds are fishing fairly fine, so it would have been a bit of a struggle, I think. There we go. Just running through lovely there. The reel will play ball. There we go. Sure, there must be some chub under there. Just try maggots at first. Sort of place I would expect there to be chub, certainly. It's a nice steady glide and that cover there. There we go. Not a big one. Certainly a chub. One of the bodyguards. Right. Do not. Don't tell your big brother we're here. Right. Nothing doing there. So I'm not hanging about. We'll go just a little bit further downstream again. Just the other side of these trees. We'll see if there's anything down there. So, another swim. Awkward swim. This one. Not very deep, bit of backlight. Proper awkward to fish. Very slippy underfoot. Not very deep. Just a nice run off down this way. I'll give it 5 or 10 minutes. I've fished out of here in the past. It's a swim I sort of know. Only really on the feeder. Trotted it much. Well, I did trot it once and had a chub out. Thinking about it. Oh, there we go. Right down the bottom of the run. Right in tight to the bank. And this feels like a reasonable fish. And you can see all right. I'm getting the other side. Just on double maggot. Lovely fight in this current, this flow, wonderful. Come on. Oh, the pressure, that flow. Wonderful, got it. Fab, right down the bottom, just before the left-hand bend in the river. Well, there we are. How's about that? That's great fun on the old stick float. Wonderful stuff. Brilliant. Really enjoying this session. Absolutely fantastic. Does look like we might get wet in a minute, but cracking stuff. We will give it 5 minutes just on the off chance we can wink on another one out, but as I've said before, it's usually one fish and that's your lot out of a swim. Certainly the quick sessions I tend to do, you know, might settle after an hour or something, but I'm not going to stick out in one swim for an hour. Oh, what you done to me, chub? Tangled up. There we go. Yeah, literally 2.5 foot deep, just on the inside here. Just let it run down the inside and it disappeared right down the bottom just before that fence. You can see in the distance, probably see the fence down there. Well, we're probably losing a light, as you can probably tell on there. The camera does a pretty good job in low light, but it's properly getting dark now. We've maybe got about 15 minutes left, so we're not going to be able to see this float. Just debating what to do. I think perhaps we might go back to that swim where we were having lots of bites and lots of fish earlier, admittedly smaller, just perhaps in the hope that as it starts to get dark we can pick off a few bigger fish. There's certainly some fish there. So I think that may be the best plan. Nothing in here. Give it 15 minutes or so in here. Maggots and bread. Nothing doing at all. Not even a bite for little fish, to be honest. Yeah, nothing happening here at all. People wasting our time because we ain't got much. So here we are. That's Chance Saloon. Give it as long as we can in here until we can't see the float. Have a few runs through on maggot just for 5 minutes, and then we'll switch to bread. I think it's more, certainly more visible as the light drops. Although I haven't had anything on it today, having said that, but I've been mostly using maggots. Took me a few minutes just to switch back on again to these maggots. It's not exactly huge. It's a nice day. You can probably see behind me the farmer's rounding up his sheep, which is not helping. No, that's it. I can no longer see. I can officially no longer see the float. Well, that's been a very enjoyable session, hasn't it? Really, really enjoyed that. It's just nice to do something a little bit different. A roving session, but with a float rather than the ledger rod. But yeah, we are definitely done. I think maybe the farmer coming past with his lights blaring and his dogs and etc may have done for this swim, but I'm definitely going to be back here and do a proper session in it. So yeah, next time I'll be out, I think we'll be in a week sometime. I'm not sure exactly when, just have to see with work and everything that's happening. But yeah, we'll try and get out in the week. It's cold, but it's river conditions are good. I may well get over the Avon as well near home. That may be a good option too. You can hardly see me, can't you? Let's put the light on, you'll see how dark it is. There you go. That's how dark it is. Yes, I should be out, I think. I'll earmark this swim, definitely. It does seem like a very good swim for some trotting. Perhaps, as I say, bring the keep net and do a couple of hours in here and just see what we can pull out. See if we can sort of feed the bigger fish into cooperating, shall we say. But yeah, I'm going to get out, I think, on the Avon. In the week as well. Try and get on there. It's coming down to a nice level now. It's a nice clarity as well. We'll perhaps do a bit of waggler fishing with a sleeper pipe rod out. And of course I am, as I mentioned earlier, I am going to try and get over to the Wye and to the lug as well. I want to do some pipe fishing on the Wye and a bit of trotting on the lug as well, and a bit of roving. So a few things planned for the next week or so. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. Tight lines, enjoy your own angling. Many thanks to the channel patrons for your wonderful support, and I'll see you all again very soon.